let's take a look at this example recommendation report. So the first thing you'll notice is that this is a title page, and this title page contains the very minimum requirements for your title page as indicated on your assignment sheet. And that is that you have a title for your report, title for your document, that you say prepared for your business and prepared by your name, and then TCID 2080 and the date that you turn this in. Obviously, that date's wrong. And that's it. If you want to add more information to that, you can, like UCCS logo or anything else, but this is the minimum requirement here. And then once we get into the report, so if you remember from class, you are required 3 sections in your report are required: the what, why, and how, right? So this is a recommendation report. So you need to discuss the what, the why, and then the how. And as we talked about in our in-class, our first in-class this later part of the semester, we were talking about how recommendation reports cover what the problem is in detail, the analysis or the impact or why it's occurring, or how it's, its effect on the business. And then they also cover actionable steps, like what can be done to solve the problem. And for your report, I'm going to give you a few things, and this is all on the assignment sheet. A few things are required: an introduction, like you can see in the video right now, and a conclusion are required. Those are rhetorical, devices that we have in most reports, academic or business. And you can see here that the introduction is in a heading format. And so this is a size 16, left aligned, Cambria, bolded. And so all the headings in this document are going to be 16 Cambria, bolded, left aligned. And they should be, you can pick your style that you want for yours, but they should all match, and you'll be graded on that. But in this report, our sections are what, why, and how sections, and sections are higher up or bigger in level of information. So then the sections themselves, right, the way those are formatted is bigger. And this is the what, problem overview. The why is called analysis and impact, and the how is called recommendations. So everybody in the class will have an introduction, a conclusion, both in heading format, right? And then everybody will have 3 sections: problem overview and analysis and impact. Notice how they all match. They are all Cambria 22 bold centered, and recommendations. But within those sections, there's going to be multiple pages of writing. You may have noticed in the assignment sheet that there isn't a minimum page number or word count. And that's because that's not really how we do it in business. It's how long do you need to write, present examples, and present research to achieve your objective. And your objective in the first section is to thoroughly convince the reader by the time they're done reading your problem overview that there is in fact a problem, it's consistent. And so you're going to create your own headings and subheadings, because this is sort of like a choose your own adventure in here, right? Like I say, you have to spend some time on the problem. You chose the problem that you were analyzing, and then you're going to discuss that problem and convince the reader that there is one. And so I don't know what headings and subheadings you're going to need. You will create those. This is an example heading: missing product information, with some placeholder text underneath it. And then when you want to do a deeper dive into some aspects of a topic, you create subheadings. I fully expect you to have lots of headings and subheadings in each of your 3 sections. I also expect that you will have some images. These can be screenshots from Instagram or Facebook posts, whatever platform you chose. I think most of you are on Instagram. And you would write in micro copy. So this is smaller. This is smaller than your body text should be 11 or 12. Consistently the same style, same size throughout the entire report. It should not shift. And then this is 11, as you can see here. And so then this little micro copy under here, this is 8. And it's like figure 1, period, and then a title for what it is. And as we go down with more examples, then it becomes figure 2. And so, yeah, you're going to have examples in here. It can be data graphics, pie charts, bar graphs, things from your research. It could be screenshots from the social media, being like, take a look, see figure 1 for an example. And I've given you a few different ways to refer to your figures in here. If you look throughout, I bolded them. That's a repeat way. Let's see, there's some others in here. And if you'll remember from class, whenever you refer to a figure, which you'll see in this example, you're either going to refer to the figure at the same time the figure shows up, like parallel to it, or in the writing that directly precedes it and always on the same page. So never afterwards and never on a different page. So you're going to have lots of images. Notice how many images are in here. There's probably like 8 or something like that, just to kind of support your conversation. And then again, I don't know how long your first section on problem overview is going to be, however long it takes. And then once you feel like I've thoroughly discussed the problem and my reader, the business, believes and understands that there is in fact a problem they should pay attention to, then you're done with section 1 problem overview. Then you can move on to analysis and impact. A couple tips just in general under each one of your subheadings. So every time you have a subheading or a heading, you're basically saying, I'm going to talk about this topic. So do talk about the topic, a paragraph or 2 before you move on to a new topic. And generally speaking, most of the time it'll be good to have 2 paragraphs or more under all of your subheadings or headings so that you can do enough of you have enough conversation for each topic. And then the other thing that I'll be grading you on is that every paragraph in this report, outside of the introduction and the conclusion, because those just kind of open and close the conversation, but every other paragraph in this report needs to have research in it. And research can either be a reference to a figure, like a pie chart, data graphic, or screenshot of the social media, some primary research there, or it needs to be an actual citation, like an in-text citation, MLA or APA format. Under analysis and impact, same stuff. You're creating headings, you're creating subheadings, you're bringing in examples, you're referring to those examples, you're writing several paragraphs under each heading and subheading. There's lots of those, and this is several pages long, and you'll know you're done with the second section after you have convinced them. You're like, okay, what I'm doing in this section is showing why this is a problem they should care about. Like, how is this impacting their business, bottom line, their nonprofits, volunteer rates, like whatever it is, all the different ways that you think that this problem is in fact impacting their business with specific examples, clear reasoning, and research. And you may not even know the degree to which the problems they have with their social media are impacting their business until you do some research, right? Research is really going to obviously guide this conversation. And so by the time you're done with that analysis and impact discussion, you feel like at that point in your paper, you've done the what and the why, right? The problem overview, analysis, and impact. At that point in your paper, your reader fully understands that there's a problem and the scope of that problem, and also sees how it impacts their business bottom line, their customers, like attendance to their events or their volunteers, recruitment rates, or whatever it is. And by the end of it, they're like, wow, this is a serious problem. It is definitely affecting us in some significant ways. And they're ready for your recommendations, which is the how do you solve this? And that's the last section. Notice how all the headings look this is the section title, looks the same as the other 2 section titles. These headings look exactly the same. They're all identical twins. Same with the subheading, same with the body text. That's paramount importance, because that's how you create patterns, and that's how it looks professional, and it affects accessibility and readability, and I will be grading for it. So make sure that all of your stuff matches. And then in the recommendations, you'll take maybe a couple pages to thoroughly present some inspiration posts from other nonprofits or small businesses, like suggestions from your research, like solutions to the problems, essentially. Again, using headings, subheadings, figures. And then when you're all done with that, and you will know you're done because you feel like you've properly guided them towards actionable solutions for all the issues, then you can wrap up your report with a conclusion. We go back to a heading for conclusion, and then your paper is done except for your appendix items. And appendix items are just documents attached to the back of the document. You are required to do one, an appendix A. It's either going to be a works cited page or a reference page. MLA, if you chose MLA for your in-text citations, like the parenthetical citations, then it will be works cited. If you chose APA, it'll be a references page, but you will have an Appendix A like that in a section title format. And in this document, that was Cambria 22 bold centered. Now, if you want to do extra credit, that is an Appendix B. That is an infographic you create. You can use a template like from Canva or Venngage. You can input some data and specifics from your research into that infographic. The infographic should be focused on a singular topic, like ways to improve your call to action, or like how to use filters on Instagram or something. And then the infographic itself should be like it should fill the page for the most part. And you'll get 2% extra credit if you created that infographic, put it in here under Appendix B. Appendix B has a section title like that. And you refer to the infographic somewhere in the body of the report, and you would refer to it just like you do your figures. Like at some point you might be like, Appendix B presents blah, 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 or see Appendix B for an example, how to improve your posting schedule or something like that. And how to do this and what infographics are is in your online content, I believe week 15. So be sure to pay attention to that if you're going to take advantage of the extra credit. And that is your report. Don't forget the research in every paragraph. Don't forget the first time you bring in a source to your paper to introduce it by writing a lead-in with something like, according to Bob Smith, social media marketing expert, in his article, blah, 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 blah. And then you present his quote or his information. And then after you introduce him, then you can just do the Smith in parentheses. So be sure to introduce all your sources properly the first time they come into the paper. Then you can do the shortcut, parentheses, reference afterwards. And you have a minimum of 5 sources you need. You can find them all in the Kramer Library databases, business administration databases like Business Search Premier. You could find some online if you need to. Just make sure they're credible and recent. Kind of up to you, and you can have more than 5 sources. And that is an overview of your final paper.